Have you ever caught yourself talking out loud when nobody was around? Maybe you were planning your day, replaying a conversation, or even giving yourself advice. Most people assume talking to yourself is strange. But what if I told you that some of the world's most successful, creative, and emotionally intelligent people do it regularly? In fact, psychology suggests that self-talk can reveal hidden personality traits that many people don't even realize they possess. Today, we're uncovering 5 surprising traits that people who talk to themselves often share. And number 5 might completely change the way you see yourself. Let's begin. 1. They are highly self-aware. One of the strongest signs of self-awareness is the ability to examine your own thoughts. People who talk to themselves often use self-talk as a mirror. Instead of letting thoughts race endlessly through their minds, they speak them out loud. Why? Because hearing thoughts can make them easier to understand. Imagine you're facing a difficult decision. Should you take a new job, end a relationship, move to a new city? Many people simply stay trapped inside their heads, but self-aware individuals often verbalize the situation. They'll say things like, "What am I really worried about? Why does this bother me so much? What do I actually want?" By asking themselves these questions aloud, they gain clarity. They become observers of their own minds instead of prisoners of their emotions. This habit allows them to recognize patterns in their thinking. It helps them identify fears, biases, and emotional triggers. The result, greater self-understanding, and people who understand themselves tend to make better decisions over time. But self-awareness isn't the only benefit. There's another powerful trait hiding behind self-talk. 2. They are natural problem solver. Have you ever noticed that some people seem unusually good at finding solutions? When a challenge appears, they don't panic. They think, analyze, adapt, and often self-talk plays a major role. When people talk through problems aloud, they force their brains to organize information. Instead of having dozens of random thoughts colliding at once, they create structure. For example, let's say someone loses their job. One person immediately spirals into fear. Another begins talking through possible solutions. Okay, what's my first step? How much savings do I have? Who can I contact? What opportunities am I overlooking? Notice what's happening. They're guiding their brain toward action, not panic. Research has shown that verbalizing thoughts can improve focus and cognitive performance. It's similar to explaining a problem to another person. Except the conversation is happening with yourself. That's why many inventors, scientists, athletes, and business leaders frequently use self-talk. They're not being weird. They're actively solving problems. And speaking of performance, the next trait may surprise you. 3. They are more motivated than most people. Motivation isn't always something you find. Sometimes it's something you create. People who talk to themselves often act as their own coach. Think about elite athletes. Many of them constantly repeat phrases like, "Keep going. You've got this. One more rep. Stay focused." Why? Because words influence behavior. The voice you hear most often in life is your own. And people who intentionally use encouraging self-talk can strengthen motivation during difficult moments. When obstacles appear, they don't always wait for someone else to inspire them. They generate encouragement internally. Instead of saying, "I can't do this," they might say, "This is difficult, but I can figure it out." That small shift changes everything. One statement creates helplessness. The other creates momentum. People who regularly use positive self-talk often become more resilient because they're constantly reinforcing confidence rather than feeding doubt. And in a world where many people criticize themselves relentlessly, that ability becomes incredibly powerful. But there's another hidden quality that self-talk reveals, and it's one many people overlook.
4. They possess strong emotional intelligence. Emotional intelligence isn't about avoiding emotions. It's about understanding them. People who talk to themselves often process emotions in a healthy way. Instead of suppressing feelings, ignoring them, or pretending they don't exist. They explore them. Imagine someone feels angry after an argument. Many people react impulsively. They send a text, raise their voice, or make a decision they'll later regret. But emotionally intelligent individuals often pause and talk themselves through the situation. They might say, "Why am I so upset? Did that comment hurt because it's true? Am I reacting to this situation or something deeper?" These questions create emotional distance, and emotional distance creates control. The emotion doesn't disappear, but it becomes manageable. This is one reason therapists often encourage journaling, reflection, and self-examination. Self-talk can serve a similar purpose. It allows people to process emotions before acting on them. As a result, they often become calmer under pressure, better communicators, and more thoughtful decision makers. But the final trait is perhaps the most surprising of all. Number 5. They are often more creative than average. Creativity is one of the most misunderstood traits in human psychology. When most people hear the word creative, they immediately think about artists, musicians, writers, or painters. But creativity goes far beyond art. At its core, creativity is the ability to see possibilities that others overlook. It's the ability to generate new ideas, discover new solutions, and approach challenges from fresh perspectives. Interestingly, people who frequently talk to themselves often display higher levels of creative thinking. Why? Because self-talk allows them to explore ideas more deeply. Instead of letting thoughts remain trapped inside their minds, they bring those thoughts into the open. They turn abstract ideas into conversations. And once ideas become part of a conversation, they become easier to examine, improve, and expand. Think about some of the world's most innovative people. Writers often speak dialogue aloud while creating characters. Actors rehearse scenes by talking through different emotions and reactions. Entrepreneurs brainstorm business ideas by discussing possibilities with themselves. Inventors frequently verbalize problems and potential solutions while working. For creative thinkers, self-talk becomes a mental workshop. They ask themselves questions. What if I tried it this way? Is there a better solution? What am I missing? They challenge their own assumptions. They role-play different scenarios. They test ideas from multiple angles. And sometimes what looks strange from the outside is actually a powerful creative process happening on the inside. Creativity rarely looks neat and organized. Sometimes it looks like someone pacing around a room, talking through possibilities, changing directions, exploring random thoughts, experimenting with different perspectives. But that messy process often leads to breakthroughs, because creativity thrives when ideas are explored rather than immediately judged. Many people dismiss their ideas before giving them a chance to grow. Creative thinkers tend to do the opposite. They allow ideas to breathe. They stay curious. They remain open to possibilities. And self-talk often becomes the tool that helps them unlock insights they may never have discovered otherwise. Which brings us to an important realization about people who talk to themselves. So let's recap. People who talk to themselves often share these 5 hidden traits. They tend to be highly self-aware. They are natural problem solvers. They often have strong self-motivation. They possess greater emotional intelligence, and they are frequently more creative than average. Of course, talking to yourself doesn't automatically mean you have all of these traits, but it may be a sign that your brain is actively processing information in ways many people don't understand. The next time you catch yourself having a conversation with yourself, don't immediately assume it's a bad thing. You might simply be thinking out loud, reflecting, learning, growing, or solving problems. Sometimes the most important conversation you'll ever have is the one you have with yourself. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to like, subscribe, and share it with someone who talks to themselves more than they'd like to admit. And tell us in the comments, Do you ever talk to yourself? And if you do, what do you usually talk about? Thanks for watching. See you in the next video.